Hello fellow booktubers, my name is Lauren, you're watching Dreams Books Courage, and today I'm going to be doing one of my TBR videos. I've not done one of these videos in a very long time, so I'm so happy to be doing one once again. For those of you who do not know, TBR actually stands for To Be Read, so these are the books that I'm planning to read in the month of June, but who knows if I'm going to get to all of them or any of them. I have been in a bit of a reading slump recently. I only managed to read one book in the month of May, which is so bad. It makes me so sad because I do not remember the last time that I read only one book in a month. It's probably been at least 2 years since I've done that, and that's just so crazy to me. I'm happy that I read that much, and I'm sad that I wasn't able to in the month of May. But I was just in a worse reading slump, but I'll talk more about that in my May and June wrap-up. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and get into the books that I'm going to be reading in the month of June. I plan to read 7 books, which is quite a lot to read in 1 month, especially for me. I usually read about 5 books a month. But since I did not read very many books in the month of May, I need to catch up on that in the months of June, July, and August, so hopefully I'll be able to do that. But that also means that I need to read 7 books a month in each of those months, and that's kind of crazy. But who knows, hopefully I'll be able to do that, and I'll be very happy if I'm able to. But let's not waste any time, and let's go ahead and get into my June TBR. So the first 3 books that I hope to read in the month of June are actually a trilogy, and that is the Summer I Turned Pretty trilogy by Jenny Han, and I am just so excited about this trilogy. The first book, of course, is The Summer I Turned Pretty. The second book is It's Not Summer Without You. And the third and final book of this trilogy is We'll Always Have Summer, with this annoying sticker on the front that I cannot get off. If you guys have any tips to get these stickers off, definitely tell me down below, because this is definitely one of my pet peeves. But anyways, back to this trilogy. I am so excited about it because it's written by Jenny Han. And if you guys have been on this channel for a while, then you know that I absolutely love Jenny Han and the duology that are read by her, which is the To All the Boys I've Loved Before duology. It's so good. I love so many different things about those books. She just has such well-developed characters, and also I just love her writing style. For some reason, I relate very heavily Pinterest to Jenny Han's writing, at least within the duology that I read by her. The main character seemed basically like she's a Pinterest addict just because of all the beautiful and creative stuff that she did, and although I know the characters aren't going to be exactly the same as they were in that duology, I do have really high hopes for this trilogy, and I really hope it gets me even more into the mood for summer. Although I did just get back from a cruise, so I definitely am already in that mood. But I think these books will put me even more in that mood, especially since it's raining a lot right now in Texas. These books are contemporary YA, which means that there's going to be a lot of romance in them probably. And I've heard that in this trilogy there is a love triangle, and sometimes I really enjoy love triangles. And there was kind of a love triangle in the duology that I read by Jenny Han, and I actually really enjoyed that one because both of the guys were like really great. But they were so different and you really didn't know which one Laura Jean was going to pick. And so if the guys are written as well as they were in that duology, I think I will definitely love them. That's basically the only thing that I know about this trilogy, is that there's going to be a love triangle in it and it's going to be on a beach somewhere, I think. And I'm fine with going into this book knowing almost nothing about it. As long as I know that it's a beachy read and it's contemporary YA, I'm all for it right now. Because if you've seen my wrap-ups for the last 3 months, you know that the books that I've been reading are very deep and it requires a lot of thought, and I just want to go into a series that I don't really have to theorize about my entire process of reading about. And this series just seems really great and just kind of a light summery read, and that's exactly what I'm in the mood for right now, so I'm so excited about picking this trilogy up. The next book that I plan to read in the month of June is the start of a new series by Rick Riordan, and that is the Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard series, and this is obviously book 1, The Sword of Summer, and I am so excited to pick up another series by Rick Riordan. The other 2 that I read by him have been absolutely amazing, and those 2 series were the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, and then the Heroes of Olympus series. So basically the only type of mythology that I've read by Rick Riordan is Greek and Roman, so I'm really excited to get into this one because it's about Norse mythology, which is like the Vikings. And honestly, I really don't know that much about Norse mythology. I know 2 of the gods that are featured within this and featured within Norse mythology in general are Thor and Loki, which are obviously also in Marvel movies, but I have not seen the Thor movies, so I really can't even go into it with that perspective. But I think that's kind of good because I'm just kind of going into it with a clean slate and not really knowing anything about any of these stories and their cultural ties. Because whenever I read the series that included Greek and Roman mythology, I knew a lot of that already, but going into this, I know none of it, and I'm actually really excited for that because I think that Rick Riordan can teach mythology very well in a contemporary setting, and mythology is just so interesting to me no matter what type of mythology it is. So I'm really excited for this one, and also just the story in general. I know these characters are older than the ones in like Percy Jackson, so hopefully I'll be able to relate to that more, and hopefully this will be more like young adult and not really middle grade at all. I really don't know what to expect going into this, but I'm really excited about it, and I'm really excited about anything that Rick Riordan writes. So I think that I'm going to really enjoy this one. I've heard no bad reviews about it so far, and the hype seems to always be well deserved with Rick Riordan's books. After reading that fantasy book, I think I'm going to jump back into contemporaries, and I'm going to start that off by reading Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour. I planned on reading this one last summer before I went to the Hollywood, Los Angeles area, but I just did not have the time to do so. But it's definitely a summery read no matter where I am, and so I'm really excited to get into this one because I know it takes place in the Los Angeles area, and now I feel like I can kind of envision that area, and maybe it'll bring back some nostalgia from being there. But I'm so excited about reading this because I really haven't heard any type of hype whatsoever about this book, and that's not to say that I've heard anything bad, but I just haven't really heard anything at all about this one. And if you guys have seen my last wrap-up video, then you know that I read The Day of the Locust, which also takes place in the Hollywood, Los Angeles area, and this one kind of sounds like it correlates a little bit to that because the main character is actually a production designer, and that's actually the job that the main character had in The Day of the Locust. I'm sure these are two completely different reads because that one's just kind of crazy and all over the place and cartoonish, and this one's more of just a young adult contemporary read. But I think it'll be really interesting going into this novel with a veil of The Day of the Locust in my mind. So I really love the Hollywood aspect of this novel, but I also love that it has LGBTQ+ elements within this. I'm not sure exactly how those elements come into play, but I'm really excited about that and excited about characters in that spectrum because I honestly do not read enough books in that spectrum, and I really feel like I need to. So hopefully it will be well done in this novel. I'm just so excited to read this. And plus, just look at this beautiful cover. This was like half the reason that I bought it in the first place because it's just such a beauty. But there are just so many elements about this novel that I'm so excited to get into. And I'm also excited to read an author that I've never read before. The next novel that I plan to read in the month of June kind of relates to the previous one, and that is Miss Lonelyhearts by Nathaniel West, who's also the author of The Day of the Locust, and I was just talking about how that relates to Everything Leads to You, kind of. So I decided to go ahead and go back to reading West's works because The Day of the Locust also contains Miss Lonelyhearts, and I'm really not even sure if this one can be considered a novel because it's only like 60 pages long, and I feel like I should just add in something short between reading 7 novels in 1 month, and so this just seemed like the perfect option. I think Miss Lonelyhearts is kind of like a combination of a bunch of short stories about Miss Lonelyhearts, but I'm not quite sure. I went into The Day of the Locust knowing next to nothing, so I'm just gonna go into Miss Lonelyhearts in the same way. I really enjoy Nathaniel West's writing style, and this is quite short, so I'm hoping that I'll just fly through this and really enjoy it. The last novel that I plan to read in the month of June is one that I should have read a long time ago, and you guys probably think I'm crazy for not having read it yet. And that novel, of course, is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I keep planning on reading this one, and I keep putting it on my TBR, but I still have not accomplished that yet. So I really want this to be the month that I read it, but who knows how it's gonna go. I'm like already half in love with this book just because of all the hype surrounding it and just what this story is about. For those of you who do not know what this book is about, which I'm sure is a scant few, it's about a girl named Kath, and she and her twin sister go off to a college together, but then her sister decides she doesn't want a room with her. And so Kath is left with a new roommate who she's never met before, and that puts her way out of her comfort zone. And I think she also has a lot of social anxiety that she has to deal with throughout this novel. So obviously there's a college aspect throughout this novel that I feel like I can really relate to since I've just gotten done with my first year of college, and maybe I'll feel some nostalgia by reading this. But then you also have the fangirl side of her, which is that she makes a lot of fan fiction about these two characters named Simon and Baz. And so there's the Simon Snow series that is kind of based on Harry Potter, and if you have heard of the novel Carry On by Rainbow Rowell, that's based off of the fan fiction written in here, I think. But it's definitely based off of the Simon Snow series. And I'm just so excited about reading this and reading more of Rainbow Rowell's writing because I have read some of her adult writings, but I've never read any of her young adult writings, so I'm really excited to jump into this sphere. I've heard that her young adult writings are better than her adult writings, so I'm really excited about it. And I'm also excited about finally being in the loop for this novel. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you have not yet checked out my new channel, which is a lifestyle channel, I'll leave a link to that one down below. In the comments, I would love if you guys told me how many books that you plan to read in the month of June and which one you're most excited about. I really don't know which book I'm most excited about within the month of June because I just picked a lot of really good reads. It might be Fangirl though, just because there's so much hype around it and I'm very excited for it as well. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and now I'm gonna go get back to reading.